Good morning, good morning. What up, Facebook? What up, IG? It's your girl, Sheree Robin. We live and live in color on this wonderful, beautiful Friday morning. It's the end of the week. My kids are home, so I don't even know. So if y'all see somebody come busting in the door, that's one of the children's because they home from school today. So bless God for that. And thank God for this amazing Friday where I get to spend time with my children. So we're going to count it as a blessing. So, but it's Fiction Friday. Good morning, good morning. Hey, good morning, good morning. It's Fiction Friday. It's Fiction Friday. So last week I was super excited about returning from Dallas and I did not do a Fiction Friday. So I'm going to make sure I give you guys some information and some insight this morning about some fiction things, some things in fiction that I am noticing and I want to call to your attention because these are things that need to be addressed and hopefully they can help you in your writing. Okay, so let's talk about fiction writing and transitions, right? So what is a transition? That's the first question, right? What is a transition? Okay, well, a transition in fiction writing is really not a space filler, but it's really the means by which you guide your reader into the next thing, into the next scene, into the next segment, into the next story. You know, it's how you use language to help you shift to another perspective or to another something that you're going to move into. So let's say we have people who are in a classroom and you have a main character in the classroom and then you want to take her and get her home. Well, she just can't jump out and go from, hey, saying hello to her friends in the classroom, and then all of a sudden she's in the kitchen with her mom. You have to have something that takes your reader through that process. And that process is a transition. And I see it. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. And I see it so often that people just kind of, especially in writing, and I call it assumptive writing, that people assume that the reader is following, that they've given you enough that you can just come on over and you can make the leap. Well, that's not always the case. And what happens when you do that is you lose your reader. You lose them. And I tell you guys all the time, that writing like this, good morning, hey, make sure you guys say good morning, make sure you jump in and say good morning. I appreciate that very much. But writing is very much like a tightrope. So as you write, you are suspending your reader, right? They're in this level of suspended level of belief. So they are believing everything that you have, or that you're telling them and guiding them through. You want your reader to move through your manuscript as if it's not even a book. Like they should be living this thing. The moment that they realize that this is writing, and it's like, oh, this is a story, it throws them off. And people will stop reading, or they'll stop counting you as a credible writer because you keep losing them, because you keep dropping them off. So they can't trust you as a writer, which now is really bad for you because they're not going to, one, if they finish the book, they're not going to enjoy it. And two, good morning, and they're not going to read anything else by you. So you kind of shoot yourself in the foot. So you have to make sure that you are taking your reader from one place to the next place. Always, always, always. And I'm working on a manuscript now where somebody comes to the door. And the next thing I know, the character is outside talking to the person that was at the door. Well, at no point did we see the door open. Did she step into or step through the threshold? There was no transition to take us from the inside setting to the outside setting where this conversation is now happening outside. It's just assumed that we get it. And so I would advise for novice writers, for people who are new at this, right? Because here's the thing, writing is rewriting. So you're not going to keep everything that you write in the first place. But one of the things that I suggest is that you really write everything. And what I mean by that is you kind of scan as you're writing and take us through every single step. I write this way, which takes some time in my writing, but I write this way because I don't like to miss things. I don't like to leave people out of things. So I write everything. I write what she's thinking, what she's feeling. I write what's going on in the world. Now, these are things in my revision process that I very well may cut. They may not stay, but they helped me in the writing to make sure that I moved my character in a way that my reader could follow. Does that make sense for you guys? I hope that makes really good sense for you guys, because it's such a disappointment when it just drops you off. It just drops you off. And that's work. You know, that is practice, that is work. And it's so funny because people ask all the time, well, how do I become, my writing is bad. How do I become a good writer? Well, you have to practice it. You have to practice it. You have to apply certain skills over and over and over again. One style of transition, it may not be the style that maintains for you throughout your manuscript. You know, you may have to try a couple different ways. You may need to go through your manuscript a few times to see if you're falling off when it comes to transitioning and leading people into the next scene. That's a part of writing. Writing is rewriting. It's revision consistently. And if you want to become better, then you apply these things on a consistent basis. So my goal really this morning is to get you guys to pay attention, especially, and this is Fiction Friday, it's Fiction Friday. So it's really to get you to pay attention to where you might be dropping your reader. I want you to go back through your manuscripts and see if you are lost in your own writing. Is what you said taking us to the next thing? Are we able to go from this thought, from this place in the scene to this next place in the story? Or in your reading, are you like, oh, maybe I thought that. Maybe I didn't really clarify that. Maybe in my mind, it looked like 10 things happened and then she opened up her front door, but you didn't write that 10 things happened and she opened up her front door. We are, as the reader, are just like, well, wait a minute, wait a second. We was just at the corner store. So how are we now in Miami? Like, wait, what? And that's what it feels like. To be totally transparent with you, that is what it feels like. That drop is that jarring that you go, wait, what? As a reader, you are totally thrown off because you're not kept. You're as a writer, the writer's not keeping you and guiding you through the process. So you are totally lost at point in times. And it feels like you just woke up in Dubai. Like, wait a second, how did we get here? What happened? You know, so that matters when in small scenes, moving from one place in a particular scene to another place in the scene. But it also matters when you're going from one scene to an entirely new thing. If you're taking this character through time, you know, if something happens, then take us through time. Let us know that some seasons have passed, or over the course of the next few months, she learned how to bowl and she did this and she did that. And by the summer, she was revived and refreshed and ready to move forward with her life. It was August when she met. So, like, take us through so we know as a reader that we're like, oh, that's what happened. Yep, I'm with that. I can follow along with that. When you don't do that, it crushes. It crushes. And again, it makes the reader not trust you. So I want you to take some time to work through your fiction. How many fiction writers do I have? Where are my fiction babies? I love my fiction writers. It's so much fun to teach fiction. It's a different process to teach fiction, entirely different process to teach fiction. So I'm working on, of course, of course so I'm working on, I'm creating some things for my fiction writers. It's a lot because it's very, very different from how you handle nonfiction. You know, when it comes to fiction, you are worried about pacing, scene setting, story development, plot, narration. You're worried about transitions. You're worried about dialogue, attribution, you know, scanning and fixating. You're worried about a lot when it comes to fiction as opposed to nonfiction. I think nonfiction can be a little simpler. It can be simplified in a way that fiction cannot. So fiction requires work. You know, there are various skills. All of those things I listed, when you go back, when you finish a brain dump, you finish your first draft in fiction, you're going back in levels, checking for those things. So one level, you might be looking for dialogue changes. The next level, you might be looking for transitions. The next level, you might be changing passive voice into active voice. You know, you might be changing a whole lot of things. Were you telling instead of showing? Can you shorten your sentences? There's a whole lot of things, a lot more work that goes into fiction writing. And that's cool because I like fiction writing. And there are so many fiction writers in the world, and it's a gift. So I enjoy the process. You know, I enjoy the process, but I just want you guys in your writing to be extremely mindful of not dropping your character off and having us look around trying to figure out where we are and how we got here. What just happened? Give us something. Move us through dialogue. Move us through, you can use your character's thoughts. You know, you can go inside of their mind as they're transitioning to something. You know, she unpacked her bag, opened her, or as she made her way to her car door, she was contemplating these things. Action is going on, right? She's thinking, but she's acting. And so we're going with her, him, whoever, through the process. And now we're not lost. We know how she got in the car. So if she's sitting in the parking lot for 20 minutes, we're not confused. We're like, oh, she's been in there for a minute. She having some deep thinking moments or something, whatever it is, you know, long as it's relevant to your character. But you can use your character to transition us through their thoughts. You know, you can use, depending on your narrative voice. Now, if you're doing omniscient narrative, which means you are God, you know all things, you know, there are a lot of tricks that you can use. And we'll save that for another lesson because omniscient is dense. It's a lot of work that goes into being God. To being God. I think Richard Russo says it. If being God scares you, writers aren't timid. If playing God scares you, there are other professions. So yeah, when it comes to writing fiction and omniscient narrator, it's a monster. But if you're gonna play it smart and play it right. You know, you have to know these rules in order to break them. So people always hit me with it's my poetic license. And I'm like, well, that's not how poetic license works. That's not how this works. You have to know the rules in order to break them. You just can't disregard them, certain rules, and think that we just supposed to go with it because that's your way of thinking. That's not how it works. You need to know how things work in order to get around them, in order to manipulate certain things, in order to have your reader still controlled and still, giving them certain things. One of the things that people do in fiction writing, especially when it comes to first person narratives, is they'll do different characters in different chapters. So if they want to stay in first person where it's all I, they'll stay first person with, I don't know, Sheree in chapter 1, and then Denise in chapter 2, and then Sean in chapter 3. So we're all in first person. There's tricks to handle different things in fiction writing. But again, you have to know these things before you just jump out and go all willy-nilly. Okay. I hope that was good for you guys. But really, the major point of this morning is transitions. It's Fiction Friday, and we want to talk about transitions. Don't leave your readers hanging loose and stuck and whatever. Okay? You got to make sure that they're good. I had this happen when reading a book. I'm like, what just happened? Yeah. Oh, she said, like, what just happened? Right. Wait, what? How do we get here? And it takes you so long to either if the story's really good, then you'll get back. You'll try to get back. But if it just throws you completely, the rest of your reading, you're going to be like, you're not going to really trust it, So this is one of my favorite short fiction anthologies, Norton Anthology of Short Fiction. Yes, it's dense, but yes, there's lots and lots of great short stories in here. And I like to read short stories because they condense the process. They make it real concise. So you can see a lot of things happening. And if you want to think about transitions in fiction, one of my favorites is J. California Cooper. I really, really like J. California Cooper, and I think you should look into her. And she writes a lot of short stories, but she has lots of them. But she is able to move through time and space in such a way in her writing that we can go through like generations, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. Like so much stuff will happen, and she can condense it into a paragraph. That's talent. That is talent. So check out J. California Cooper. She's one of my favorites. It's a recommendation for you guys today. Check out a short story from J. California Cooper and just watch how the story moves and how we're able to jump in a way that you're not confused in the jump. No matter what happens, if it's one character and we're jumping with them, or if we're jumping from a scene to another scene, you're never lost. Okay? Pay attention to that, right? Another one of things one of my professors used to say is read 100 books and write one. So you want to become a better writer? Read. You want to learn some tricks and some skills? Read, and then try them. Apply different things that you see. Check out and see if these are, can you work it this way? I like Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon is one of my favorites. I check that book out often. I love the way she uses cumulative modifiers in there. I think that the way that the sentences are structured, how she's able to build is awesome. And so I watch it and I emulate certain things. It's called looting. You watch you're not using her words, but you might be checking that style, that the way that can I do that? Can I use the way that she moved this to the next thing? I can do that. Let me see if I can do that. And put your sentence structure, put what you want to say into that structure. It's here for us. It's all in books. Lots and lots and lots of books. Get lots of books. I promise you. Libraries got lots of them for free. And they always, always, always have like the books for sale out in front of lots of libraries. I always grab a bunch of books when I'm at libraries, picking out books and the ones that they have for sale. So pick up a couple good books and read a couple good books. Can this work for nonfiction too? Transitioning? Well, yeah, transitioning can work for nonfiction too. You don't want to lose your reader in any kind of writing. I'm speaking specifically about characters for nonfiction. I mean, this was in relation to characters in this fiction sense, but you don't ever want to lose your character in nonfiction, lose your reader in nonfiction either. So you do want to make sure if you're going from one point in your life, let's say you're talking about nonfiction. If you're going from one point in your life and then you're going to tell us how you got to this next place in your life, you can't go from when I was 6, I used to walk home every day. And then next thing I know, you're on a school bus you're in college. Well, wait a minute. How did we get here? Like, tell us that, take us through the process. Nonfiction is a little different because you're worried about the perception. You want to make sure that you're getting out the most valuable stuff to your reader. So you're going to be jumping around some in nonfiction. You're not telling your whole life story in nonfiction writing. So you do have to make sure that your transitions are clear, that people can go, okay, we learned this in this chapter, and in this chapter, she's going to take us through, her college years, whatever that is. But you have to make sure that that's clear, that that's clear in your writing. Whatever it is, you never want to lose your reader. You want to make sure that they are locked and loaded and that they can clearly understand what it is that you're trying to communicate, and that they are in the scene with you. That's a major thing. You never want people to just be lost in the sauce. So we got a couple questions. You're welcome. We got a couple questions. I'm going to answer those for you guys. Does anyone have any questions? Let me know. Fiction Friday is always one of my favorites, but let me see what we got going on here. Wrote a book in the process. I utilized was writing down the main ideas and sentence bullet point style, voice memo, and just talk and myself talk for hours. Okay, that's listen to the transform when I spoke into a document. Content felt more authentic than writing every day. You think that's a good strategy? So that's interesting. I'll get to that. That's one question. I'll get to that because that's a little lengthy. And I will respond to that in a second, but let me just make sure that everybody here is good. And if you have any specific questions, like, Facebook, you guys can always drop me a line here on the thread or send me a message. Let me know if there's some questions you have about what we've discussed this morning. And if not, if there are things that you want to discuss, especially my fiction writers, good morning to everybody. Make sure you hit those likes and those shares, all that good stuff. But all of my fiction writers, if you have any questions that you want answered, or there's something that you're struggling with in your fiction writing, just drop a line and I can hopefully help you out. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, Facebook. I love you. I love you very much. Thank you for tuning in to your girl. And I will see you guys again on Monday. Maybe sometime this weekend I'll jump on, but definitely Monday. All right, gang. Love you much. Have a great day.